Hello, everybody. We have Lazar here, who's an accessibility consultant and founder of Accessi. And he's helping companies make their websites available to people with disabilities and avoid being fined. Thank you for being here, Lazar, and happy to be talking to you.
Thanks for having me. It's my pleasure.
So we'll jump into the questions. There's a new law about accessibility in the European Union. So what does it mean for an e-commerce owner who operates in Europe?
So basically on June 28, 2025, this new law has been adopted. It is called European Accessibility Act. Now, companies that employ over 10 people and have 2 million euros in revenue per year are obliged to make their websites available to people with disabilities. Not only websites, but mobile apps as well. Now, it's very important to understand that European Accessibility Act is not a law. It is a directive. So each EU member state is obliged to transpose this directive into its own legal framework. This means that each EU member state has already adopted fines which, let's say, business owners and companies would need to pay in case they are caught in inaccessibility.
So in terms of fines, it's like, how important is this directive or this law per country for people with disabilities?
This will allow people with disabilities to file complaints if they find a content that is significant to them but not available to them. So each EU member state should create a body, like official body, where customers would be able to send complaints and possibly file lawsuits.
What does this mean for e-commerce owners specifically? Do they have to make their websites accessible?
So if they have more than 10 employees and 2 million euros of revenue per year, then yes, they need to make their websites available to people with disabilities.
And what are the most important things to do well in terms of accessibility on the web shops? You know, what is stopping a person with disability from actually making the purchase?
It depends from disability to disability. So there are different accessibility issues across different types of disabilities. But let me tell you the most common challenges. When forms are not labeled, for example, and blind people cannot understand what the certain form field actually relates to. People with no vision or with some visual impairments use so-called speech software that converts text into speech. So if, for example, card number or date of expiration is not labeled correctly, they will not be able to hear what they are supposed to enter. So they'll not be able to know what is the information that a shop requires from them, meaning that shops actually lose or can lose customers. Also, there are a lot of challenges regarding carousels, where carousels actually are not accessible, meaning that people don't know what they are actually representing. There is also a dynamic content. So the content moves automatically on website. It rotates left and right, up and down, whatever. It can be challenging not only to the blind, but also to people with other diseases, for example, epilepsy, where it can actually and possibly cause some seizures. So it's very important that you always include pause button into your carousel if it actually rotates.
If a web shop owner wants to start exploring how he can make his web shop accessible, what will be the best first step for them?
Well, first of all, they have a lot of options, but the cheapest one is to test everything by keyboard. So just try to make a purchase using the keyboard. You can do it or simply ask someone to do it for you, but like any team member can do it. Just try to place an order using the keyboard and see if it works. If it actually works, this means that you are on the good way. You can try to learn something about accessibility and then to implement the suggested solutions. You can also contact accessibility experts who can test the website for you and tell you exact errors and, more importantly, how to fix them. But one very important thing that people usually miss is we all talk about how to make the website more accessible, how to resolve accessibility issues, how to identify accessibility issues. Unfortunately, not so many people discuss about how to make money out of accessibility. And, if you want to be accessible just to tick the box, just to, be legally safe instead of actually helping people with disabilities use your e-commerce store properly and actually buy from you, then I don't think you are on the good road, right? Now, I would tell you a couple of advice on how e-commerce companies can make a real revenue of accessibility. So first things first is that accessibility is useful for all, but essential for some. And if you start from this means that by being accessible, you will have more people who will be buying on your website. So you will have more customers across the entire general population because accessibility brings better SEO ranking. So your e-commerce shop will be more visible on Google, on social media as well. You need to embrace accessibility as your marketing and branding strategy. If you speak about accessibility publicly, you will rock. And that's the way to go.
Amazing. Thank you. There are many apps or plugins that claim that they will automatically make your site accessible. Is this true in reality? Can you rely on just clicking a box on an app, Shopify app, and you're good to go?
So when you talk about automation, there are so-called accessibility plugins where you just install it to your website and then the users can click based on the disability they have. So they can choose whether they want to make the website available to deaf, to blind, to people with motor dexterities, whatever the disability they have. Unfortunately, that is very, very, very bad approach towards accessibility because over 40% of lawsuits filed in the USA are against websites with overlay solutions. Okay, so when you put the overlay on your website and say, hey, just click on the disability you have and the website will be adjusted to your disability, then simply you say, I'm a target, sue me. So it's not the best practice. But automation has its own role. For example, e-commerce companies can use some automated checking tools to identify basic accessibility issues. Also, recently, we see trends where AI tools propose accessibility fixes that are then implemented into code. And this is something that we really need to discuss and talk about because artificial intelligence will definitely change the way accessibility work is done faster than we all think.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And I just wanted to ask for your own personal experience and actually being a user of accessibility tools and screen readers, how hard it is for you to actually shop on some web shops. How often do you find web shops where you cannot actually complete a purchase?
Every day, literally. I actually came across the event where the ticket price was about 500 euros and the registration was not accessible. I don't have to tell you that I will not go there. So it's not about being enabled to complete the transaction. It is more about companies that lose money on a daily basis due to inaccessibility, and my case is not the only one. About 70% of transactions that are initiated by the blind actually never happen because they encounter a critical accessibility error preventing them from shopping.
That's a really huge number. Lazar, I'm very thankful that you share all this knowledge and experience with us, and hopefully this will help somebody make their own web shop or website more accessible to anybody who needs it. And if anybody needs further help with making their shop or site accessible, Lazar is here.
You can find me on LinkedIn and on www.
Amazing. Thank you so much and talk to you soon.
Thank you.